Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and we have yet another thing to be thankful for on this Thanksgiving Day, because Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks decided to unload, absolutely annihilate Al Sharpton on a story that I thought was going to be pretty boring, that was just going to be based on the fact that he received $500,000 from the Kamala Harris campaign, and then in an obvious instance of corruption, turned around after getting that donation to his nonprofit and interviewed Kamala Harris. But instead, Cenk decides to go full scorched earth on Al Sharpton, and I'm 100% here for it, and it is something for all of us to be grateful for on this Thanksgiving Day. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay? The cost of that softball interview was a whopping $500,000. That is what the Harris campaign provided to Al Sharpton's nonprofit prior to her sit-down interview with Sharpton, and that's certainly raising some eyebrows, certainly because, you know, it goes against common journalistic ethics. But nonetheless, the Harris campaign made two separate $250,000 donations to Al Sharpton's National Action Network, an anti-discrimination group, on September 5th and on October 1st, the second coming weeks before Sharpton interviewed Harris on the network. Now, Sharpton did not mention the contributions that the Harris campaign made to his nonprofit at all. There was no disclosure about it whatsoever.
So this story starts out pretty normal, pretty straightforward, something that you would expect to see related to the recent controversy around Kamala Harris's campaign donating $500,000 to Al Sharpton's National Action Network. And here you have Anna Kasparian, who, by the way, is looking sharp, Laura Loomer, in this particular blue sweater and with the nice hair. I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying it's a reference to a previous video. Definitely check that out if you understand or don't understand and want to understand what I'm saying. And it seems like they're just gonna harp on the particular donation, and that's going to be the end of it. Maybe they'll go into Kamala Harris's campaign and how disastrously it's run, but instead, this takes a twist, this takes a turn, and I'm so here for it.
And as far as MSNBC goes, they told Chuck Ross at the Washington Free Beacon that they were unaware of the campaign donation. Or the donation to the nonprofit owned by Al Sharpton. Now, that could be true, I don't know, but MSNBC would not confirm whether they're considering reprimanding Sharpton, if there's gonna be any consequences for this. Now, the Society of Professional Journalists also told the Free Beacon, while Al Sharpton may not consider himself a journalist, many viewers do. When TV news broadcasters do not report their conflicts of interest or conduct their work in ways that run counter to ethical journalism, it builds distrust among their audiences and places a black eye on both their network and the profession.
Now, MSNBC, if you guys don't know, is denying that they had any knowledge of this particular donation. And to be clear, I do think that they probably didn't know about this. They were probably unaware with this because Al Sharpton uses his platform as a way to enrich himself, not just with the salary he receives from MSNBC, but through the greater notoriety that he has. And this is something that he's done his whole life. But don't take my word for it, because Cenk Uygur, of all people, is about to go on a rant against Al Sharpton. And again, I'm so 100% here for this.
Okay, can we just be honest? Al Sharpton is the original grifter. So if you don't know, back in the days in New York, anytime there was any kind of racial conflict, this fat ass would show up in a jumpsuit, and he would demagogue against Jews, by the way, specifically, and get people super mad to the point where they nearly attacked Jewish people. And he was a menace, an absolute menace in the New York area, okay? And then all that got magically forgiven. Why did it get forgiven when that stuff never gets forgiven?
Why did it get forgiven?
Because he decided to embrace professional corruption. He was running two-bit scams back in the day because he didn't know any better.
So again, I was not expecting Cenk to go off in this direction. Obviously, he's hurling out the insult, referring to Al Sharpton as a fat ass, which, by the way, is kind of ironic coming from Cenk Uygur. But if you look at the photos of Al Sharpton in the past, he was a rather large individual. In fact, I have pointed out that he basically went from fat boo to skinny boo, and I think the images speak for themselves with what you could see on your screen right now. But Cenk also brought up the Crown Heights riots, which Al Sharpton was a key figure in inciting, and this is one of the reasons why his reputation was in the toilet back in the day. And for those of you who are unaware, in that particular instance, a Jewish individual ran a red light, ended up striking and killing a 7-year-old child, and even though this was an accident, Al Sharpton decided to make it a racial issue, and at one point at the height of the conflict, Al Sharpton said something to the effect of, "Pin back your yarmulkes and come ready to fight if you want to fight," something like that. I will link a source in the description where you could read about that, but obviously this is him trying to inflate racial tensions for his own benefit, because that's what he did back then, and that's what he does right now.
Right? But he's a smart guy, so he wisened up and he's like, oh, the way the professionals do this is they kiss the ass of the donors, they kiss the ass of the politicians, and they get the real money, the big money. And did he shake down a lot of businesses saying, hey, if you don't give me money, I'm gonna call you racist? Okay, go ahead and catch feelings. Yes, he did, okay? And do you wanna know how Comcast was allowed to merge and actually acquire NBC and MSNBC? They had a massive race problem. Al Sharpton came in and said, no, they don't have any race problem. Guess where Al Sharpton wound up? Hired by Comcast at MSNBC.
So yes, Cenk is 100% right about this. Al Sharpton's grift is either he creates or inflames a potential racial scandal involving your business, and basically he says we can make this all go away if you donate or give me money directly back in the day to the National Action Network, which is his foundation. This is the go-to move. He did do this, in fact, for the Comcast situation, and he ended up at MSNBC. And by the way, do not think I am unaware of why Cenk is so angry at Al Sharpton, because for those of you who are unaware, Cenk used to be at MSNBC at the 6 o'clock hour, and he was competing as a fill-in host for Al Sharpton, and by Cenk's account, he got better ratings than Al Sharpton, but essentially MSNBC decided to try to move him to the weekend and give Al Sharpton that slot for many of the reasons that he's laying out. In addition to this, Al Sharpton also, and this is the way that he got his political reputation mended, said that he was never going to criticize Barack Obama for anything, and essentially him sucking up to the Obamas allowed him to become a leech on a much grander scale and make even more money because, again, his reputation was previously in the toilet.
Funny how that works, right? He got way better on his grift, okay?
So I don't know if you guys heard that, but in the background you have Anna Kasparian saying wow very dramatically, and I only wish that they would have cut to her for that, because that would be yet another clip in my repertoire of Anna Kasparian that I could throw out onto my videos and we could have more fun with this. But yes, this is 100% true, except for the fact that Cenk isn't disclosing the real reason why he doesn't like Al Sharpton. Everything about this, I'm so on board with.
And he's been taking this kind of money his whole life, and that's why he does the softball interviews. That's why if you criticize Al Sharpton in the old days, people will be like, God damn yes. Now if you criticize Al Sharpton, they go, oh, well, you're being a racist, racist. No. Why? Because he's now part of the establishment. So now his new mob, the establishment cartel, protects Al Sharpton, and as he runs the scam time and time again. And there he is sitting on Morning Joe as they lecture about good journalism, a story we covered earlier in the show, right?
Wow.
Come on.
Look, I knew some of that about Al Sharpton. I didn't know about him shaking down businesses in New York with allegations of racism.
Again, they give me another wow off camera from Anna Kasparian that I could be using, and then she talks about how she wasn't aware that they were shaking down businesses in New York, and that was Al Sharpton's previous grift. And all I have to say, Anna, is that linked in the description of this video, just for you, from me to you, are videos that I've done about the Bernie Getz situation, and specifically the one that I want you to watch is my coverage of the Tawana Brawley situation, because Al Sharpton essentially inflated racial tensions in those cases. In the Bernie Getz case, there was broad agreement that Bernie Getz was justified in defending himself due to the era of the time that this crime took place, but Al Sharpton still took the side of the criminals in that instance, and he did the very same thing in the Tawana Brawley hoax, which he promoted, he trotted her around, and he used her repeatedly in order to gain notoriety and attention for himself. And again, this was in the Fat Majin Buu era of Al Sharpton. In addition to that, I will also point out that Al Sharpton was instrumental in getting the Central Park 5 paid. And by the way, we talked about their guilt on this channel before, but more importantly, he essentially traded the extraordinarily large payment for the Central Park 5, who by all estimates were only going to be entitled to $15 million, for an endorsement of Bill de Blasio. Bill de Blasio, after getting the Al Sharpton endorsement, after winning the mayorship, actually appointed one of Al Sharpton's attorneys to the head of the New York City Legal Corporation, and that year they doled out a record amount in settlements to all these different various organizations. In addition to the settlements that they doled out, there was one notable one that they were going to pay out to Al Sharpton's daughter, who claimed that she had a dramatic injury in a pothole to her ankle and thus was entitled to $5 million because essentially she was incapable of walking. However, the New York Post ended up busting up this scheme by showing videos of her dancing that very same night that she claimed that she was injured, and by showing videos of her dancing on vacation in foreign countries. And although she should have got nothing, that $5 million amount that she was targeting, that she was going to get paid through, again, an attorney that was very close to Al Sharpton himself, was reduced to $90,000. Anna, again, check out the videos in the description that I have for you. You will be blown away by the crap that this guy did, by the crap that this guy got away with, and by the fact that now he is considered somebody who is allowed in polite company, despite the fact that he is a race hoaxer to the extreme.
And on, he was in the middle of creating riots. So he would go into the most, like flammable situations, for lack of a better word, and he would come in there with a match and start lighting things on fire, right? And when he went after it, he said, "Oh, the Jews are running these businesses," and riled people up against Jewish Americans. It was one of the worst things I've ever seen. And okay, so that happens from time to time with a Nick Fuentes, etc. But Nick Fuentes is like
persona non grata.
Yeah, he's
right?
totally shunned by everyone who's legitimate. But Al Sharpton welcomed with open arms. Why? Because he switched up his grift. And he realized the establishment grift is the best grift of all.
I mean, come on, guys. That's absolutely amazing. Cenk Uygur just compared Al Sharpton to Nick Fuentes. He just compared him in terms of anti-Semitism to Nick Fuentes. That is an amazing thing to actually occur from a progressive news host, from Cenk Uygur himself. That is how much he despises this person.
You set up a nonprofit, they funnel you $500,000, you kiss their ass on air, and if anybody accuses you of anything, you just call them racist. So he's been playing identity politics his whole life. He's nothing but a grifter. So if any of you catch feelings over that because you were part of his grift and he donated a little bit to your show or he donated a little bit to your organization, by the way, that's a smart way to run the grift. What you do is you dole out a little tiny taste of the money you got from giant corporations, etc., so that everybody shuts up about the scam that you're running. So there you go. And look, I didn't say any of it was illegal. It's my opinion that he's a giant grifter, okay? And you could look up all that information on your own.
And again, Cenk doesn't really reveal the reason why he has so much additional despisal of Al Sharpton, but let us be clear, I think a lot of this is tied to the 6 o'clock slot at MSNBC, and even though Cenk says he's over it, the fact is, I don't really buy that he's over losing that slot to Al Sharpton, who he thinks he deserved to have that slot over. Ironically, Cenk Uygur was victimized by DEI. He's very upset about that. He's enraged about that, and years later, he's decided to drop an atomic bomb on Al Sharpton's face, and again, is comparing him to Nick Fuentes in terms of anti-Semitism.
I did not know the story was going to take that direction, but I'm here for it.
Can I look?
Keep going.
Yeah.
So I like that Anna encourages Cenk to keep going on this rant, and by the way, I'm on board with this. Thank you, Anna, for being our avatar and telling Cenk to say more bad things about Al Sharpton because we all appreciate it. And Cenk ends up saying that he got a call that basically confirmed that the reason why he got this job is because he was in the good with Comcast because he used his powers of racial grifting in order to aid them.
So back when I left MSNBC, I got a call from a legendary New York reporter who reported on Sharpton and Trump throughout his whole life. Okay,
yeah.
He said, "Do you know why Sharpton got the job at MSNBC? I said, I don't have any idea. I don't care. What happens after I leave is immaterial to me. I chose to leave.
Right.
That has nothing to do with anyone else. He's like, yeah, but I'm going to tell you anyway, okay? And he's the one that explained to me how Comcast had and he reported on this earlier, had massive racial issues with how they treated black employees. Sharpton comes in and goes, no, I declare them non-racist. They have no racial problems at all.
Wow.
And then he gets what is likely a multi-million-dollar deal from those same exact executives to work at MSNBC.
Again, it is Thanksgiving, folks, if I time the release of this video appropriately, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I do, because Al Sharpton definitely deserves to be taken down about 25 notches, and who would have thought Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks would be our champion in this regard, would step up to the plate and hit it out of the park. But as for right now, that's all I really have for you guys today. If you liked this video, then show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks annihilating Al Sharpton. Till next time.